Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of Crystals with Kate. So for this week, we'll be discussing another one of my personal favorites, moss agate. I absolutely love moss agate. It was one that I did not know a whole lot about for a while. I just thought it was pretty and I was very drawn to it. But once I decided to actually start looking into the properties, I was like, oh, no wonder I feel so drawn to this. Which is funny because that is how it happens for most of the crystals that I have grown super attached to. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So in terms of the geology of moss agate, it is technically a chalcedony, not an agate, but we do still call it moss agate. That is its trade name. Either way, though, agates and chalcedonies are both under the umbrella of the quartz family. So it's not like we're completely misnaming it when we use its trade name of moss agate. The green color is a bit of a dendritic form, and that is coming from inclusions of manganese and or iron. Depends on the rock and how much there is. And these are mostly going to be mined in places like India, Brazil, and Uruguay. So there's a little bit of background on moss agate, and we're going to dive into its history. So a lot of these crystals have super rich history, and it's very fun for me to look into. However, I will say moss agate has some of the broadest history I've seen because they have it from everything from the Greeks to the Egyptians, Islam, Native Americans. They are all over. Whereas a lot of places have it for certain areas of the geographic world where like Greece or Egypt were really using it, or Egypt was using it, or Mesopotamia. But moss agate is really the first one I've ran into that has this wide of an ancient history. So let's talk. In general, ancient cultures viewed and revered it as a healing stone. It was also used as a stone of agriculture in much of Europe during the about 1200 AD. It was hung by farmers around the horns of their oxen when they were plowing, and it was thought to increase their harvest. A lot of that is the green color and the association. It is associated a bit with a green thumb as well. In terms of specific cultures, though, the Greeks used it to attract favors from the gods. So the Greek pantheon of gods are very associated with moss agate. They are very much in tune with moss agate and its properties. In Arabia, it was used in the representation of the eyes of the gods. So when they would build statues and monuments to their gods to revere, they would use moss agate to make the eyes because they were pretty and they were a highly revered stone. For Islam, it has always been considered an extremely precious stone, and Islamic tradition states that an agate ring will protect the wearer from prejudice, and it will give them a long life. So if you are wearing a moss agate ring, you are going to be a little bit more protected divinely, according to Islamic faith. The next one is going to be Native Americans. So they used it for weather. They believed that it had the power in changing the weather, and the most common one would be rituals to bring rain if there had been a dry spell. So they would do a lot of worship, and they would have their moss agate, and they would be working specifically with that in order to have the return of the rain. Another thing is it is often called the talisman for the gardener. Again, has to do with having a green thumb, and that is your color association. And the last little fun link on history that I have is about midwives. So midwives, and this is across a variety of cultures in the western end of the world and parts of the eastern as well, was that moss agate was used by and linked to midwives. It is said to have given courage to the woman who would give birth and help her to reduce her pain. So midwives were known to carry moss agate. They would give it in charms to women who were in childbirth or in labor, immediately postpartum, and it would help them heal and go through a healthy labor and a healthy birth process, and it was said to help avoid traumatic birth experiences. So that is the history that I have thus far for moss agate. And we are going to take a break right here, and we are going to chit-chat about ways that you guys can support the show. We'll be right back. And now for a quick break to talk about the ways to support the podcast. If you are enjoying what we are doing here on Crystals with Kate, I am so very happy that you are enjoying it. I just wanted to give you a few ways that you can help support the show. The first way is by following us on TikTok and Instagram, which will be linked in my link tree below. I am a small crystal business owner. Any orders to my website or my Etsy shop would be very much appreciated. I also have a spot on my link tree for donations for divination practices such as pendulum readings and tarot spreads. And last but not least, I do have a Patreon for our show. My Patreon has 4 tiers, and they are each named after a crystal. The first tier is the Jasper tier, and that starts at $3.33 a month. That gets you early access to podcasts, and they are absolutely ad-free. It also gives you a copy of my metaphysical notes for my crystals. Next is the Quartz layer, and that is $7.77 a month. That gives you, again, ad-free early access, and that gives you full crystal notes. So all of the things I'm talking about now, if you wanted a more detailed grimoire page, would be included. My next layer is the fluorite layer, and that is $22.22 a month. Again, you get your full crystal notes, ad-free, and early access to the podcast. And then you also get Happy Mail from me. You get a monthly crystal mystery box, and that would be valued at about $15 to $20 worth of product. Next up, our last and highest tier is the Amethyst tier, and that is $44.44 a month. And once again, you do get full crystal notes, early access, and ad-free. And then you also get a monthly box for $35-ish worth of goodies. That is a guaranteed larger piece or jewelry. So it might be a ring or a bracelet. It may be a small tower, something that really makes this worth your money. So all of these are wonderful ways to support the show. All right, and then the very last thing that I want to mention in terms of ways to support the show before we jump right back into our information on Moss Agate is to remind you guys I did finally publish my book. It is called A Witch's Guide to Yule. It is a slim book, and it gives you all of your crystal correspondences, your plants, your herbs, their correspondences, the history of Yule, an abridged history, the Christianization of the process, its place in the Wheel of the Year and Wicca and pagan religions and neo-pagan religions, and how all of these things come together and create the Yule that we know and see today. So if that is something you are interested in, the link will be in the show notes page and will be linked on my Amazon storefront, which I will also put a link for in the show notes. I have an entire section on my Amazon storefront that is all about witchy and spiritual things that I think you guys would enjoy. Okay, enough of that mumbo jumbo. Back to our properties. So first off, we have our metaphysical properties as usual. It again was used for new crops and is associated with having a green thumb and encourages gardening. So if you're somebody who wants to get into that or is already doing that and may or may not be seeing the success you'd like to, this is a really good tool in order to increase your green thumb, increase your yield, and increase your crops. It is also said to help you make new friends, and I think a lot of that is because it is helping you get over a lot of your emotional balance issues and release your trapped emotions. It balances your male and female energies. If you're too high strung, it helps kind of bring you back down. So by doing all of that in the background, I think that leads to the overarching theme of being able to make new friends. Making new friends is extremely stressful, and it is hard for a lot of people. It requires vulnerability. It requires trust. It requires you to get over a lot of things that you might have issues with. If you are emotionally unbalanced and you have trapped emotions due to things like trauma, it's going to be hard for you to trust people, and it's going to be hard for you to be vulnerable, so it's going to be hard for you to make friends. So this is definitely a crystal that has that umbrella term of making friends, but it is because it has all of those other background metaphysical correspondences as well. Some more that it has is it helps for those who are the over-nurturer. So if you are always the one who is giving love to other people and not always taking the time for yourself, this is definitely a good crystal for you. It'll make you slow down, relax, refocus yourself, get yourself back together, that kind of thing. If you're also a very aggressive person, you have aggressive tendencies, Moss Agate will help you calm down. It'll help you rebalance your emotions, if you feel like you have better control over your emotions, all of that. And the last couple things I want to mention with Moss Agate's metaphysical properties is that it is good for attracting your prosperity, your wealth, and your success. It is a green crystal. We see that with green aventurine being your prosperity crystal as well. That is definitely a color correspondence. Lastly, it is definitely good for bringing patience and peace when we need to disconnect from the chaos of the modern world. There is so much going on in the world today, especially as we get close to the holidays. Those of us who normally feel put together are probably feeling a lot less put together right now. Holidays can bring out the absolute worst in people, but it can also bring out the best. And it depends on what kind of person you are. So moss agate is definitely something that helps me keep my peace during this time of the year. If you struggle during this time of the year, it is definitely something I would recommend picking up. All right. Now, for your physical healing properties, the two key ones that I see is its anti-inflammatory properties, because if you are helping get rid of all of this extra baggage that you're carrying, your body is overall just going to function a little bit better, which should lead to anti-inflammatory type properties. The next one is your immune system. Immune systems mimic that of plant respiration a little bit, and because this is associated with plants, it does associate with the human immune system. Again, everyone's getting sick. The flu has been crazy this year. Stay healthy. Moss agate is associated with health, so definitely if that's something you're interested in working with, do it. In terms of your mental and your emotional healing, it is important to use if you need to be soothed. Maybe you never had that maternal, nurturing environment, or maybe you did, but you just didn't have enough of it. Or maybe you did have it and you just still need it. It is definitely a very soothing and nurturing crystal. It helps you kind of get that feeling that you would get from a maternal figure if you don't have that. It helps you feel stable and secure, provides that sense of security that you need, and it is also, again, helping you balance out your energy. It's going to help you balance your emotions, be a little bit less aggressive, not be so much of a giver. Don't burn yourself out giving. Just stay in your lane, give what you can without pouring from an empty cup. That is the biggest issue that a lot of people have, is they are empathetic and they're sympathetic to other people, and then they end up pouring so much from their cup that they have nothing left, and then they need it and there is nothing left. So this, again, is going to help with that. And then the last couple things is going to bring you inner harmony. If you are balanced, you will feel harmonious. And it will also help with your overall self-esteem and inner glow. So if you aren't carrying around your baggage and your trauma, and you are able to make new friends, and you're able to open up, and you're not so aggressive all the time, and you're able to, pour from your own cup because you're not spending all your energy helping and fixing other people, you are going to feel so much better about yourself. You're going to look in the mirror and be like, wow, look at me today. Not, just another day. So it'll really fix that self-esteem, and once you fix your self-esteem, you will have your inner glow back. So that does wrap us up for all of your metaphysical, physical, and mental and emotional healing properties of moss agate. And for the last little bit of the show, we are going to talk about its correspondences. So the moss agate crystal is most associated with the Virgo zodiac. And again, just a disclaimer, this does not mean that just if you are not a Virgo, it's not going to help, okay? So if it's your sun, your moon, your rising, it'll probably help a little bit more, but it will work for literally anybody, okay? Virgo's not in my top 3, and I still love working with moss agate. In terms of your chakra, it is a green crystal. It is going to be associated with your heart chakra. And your element is earth, and your planet is also earth, so that gives me a lot of grounding vibes. When I see that earth, and my correspondences, those are crystals I definitely lean towards for grounding. I don't know if that's a personal thing. I don't know if that's an actual thing. But I do know I feel a lot of grounding coming from those crystals, and you may as well if you tried it. And the very last thing here is your numerology. So the numerology here is the number 1. So everything that we have talked about with moss agate has been about trying to fix people and trying to do things for other people and trying to fix your emotions and not be so headstrong and not be so stubborn and not be so aggressive. And the numerology that is associated with moss agate is kind of the opposite of all of those energies. So it is that positive independence, that positive self-reliance, that positive determination. You are self-reliant, you believe in yourself, and you push yourself because you know you're capable, and you rely on yourself because you can. And that may be because you don't trust other people, which moss agate will help you get through. Because I know for me, that is a lot of the reason I am so independent and I am so stubborn, is because I don't trust people. I don't trust help from other people, and I have always just done better when it is me, myself, and I am taking care of me. So that is definitely something I struggle with, which is why I work with moss agate. And if you're able to get through all of these things that are going to put that burden on you and make you feel like you're not able to be a good friend and not able to do things, you'll be able to be more independent, and you'll have friends, but you won't need to lean on them so much, and you won't it won't be one of those unhealthy friendships where you feel like you have to hang out all the time to have a friend. It'll be, you're able to develop the strong friendships and the adult friendships where you guys can go a month without talking because life gets crazy and you're busy, but nothing changes. But anyway, that is enough for my soapbox. This is the end of our episode now for Mouse Agate, and I am going to put out another episode at the end of this week on Yule, and it'll go over a lot of your crystal correspondences, and then we will have another episode next Wednesday as well, and then we will wrap up season 2 the week of New Year's, and with the start of the new year, we will start season 3 of the podcast. Thank you guys for all of your support and sticking around, and all of the links I mentioned will be down in the show notes. Bye, guys.